Now, those of us that are conspiracy theorists are kind of torn about this one right here. Because on one hand, we know the conspiracy surrounding the CIA and things that they could have allegedly done and the harm and the corrupt and all of this type of stuff. Then on the other hand, we understand what they provide as far as our security and people getting laid off in the workforce and all of that type of stuff like that. So we're kind of, I know, but we're going to get into it. So you know how this goes. Question everything. You should. And remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Let's get to it.
First, it was the FBI. Now it's the CIA that's facing a major shakeup. America's spies agency is being offered sweeping buyout. That means every CIA staffer can quit in exchange for about 8 months' pay. The move is meant to weed out those who don't support the MAGA agenda. And the buyouts are meant to support the agency's new goals of targeting drug cartels and undermining China. Meanwhile, over at the J. Edgar Hoover building, it's even more tense. The FBI today complied with a DOJ demand to give information on thousands of agents who worked January 6th cases. We're talking about ID numbers and job titles, not names. Several FBI agents even filed a lawsuit accusing the DOJ of conducting a loyalty purge. The acting director of the FBI, Brian Driscoll, has tried to stand in the way, defending the rank and file and becoming somewhat of a G-man folk hero along the way, with AI memes like this one, celebrating him for pushing back on the agency's purge. But soon, Driscoll will have to face his new boss, the newly confirmed Attorney General Pam Bondi, who begins her first full day tomorrow. Lots to get to on all of this tonight with National Security Attorney Mark Zaid and former top counterterrorism executive at the FBI, Christopher O'Leary, who's currently a senior VP for global operations at the Sufin Group. Thank you both for being here. Chris, let me begin with you. I want to know what your reaction is to now CIA employees, all of them really, being offered buyouts. Combine that with the FBI news, everyone's wondering, is this going to put Americans in danger?
Well, Laura, simple answer is yes.
Unfortunately, that's the bad side of this right here. That, you know what I mean? Our enemies are out there just going, go ahead, please do. That's what they're sitting there saying right now.
The combination between the FBI and the CIA, those are two of our primary agencies responsible for our national security, whether it's counterterrorism, great power competition, you name it, from head to toe. Those two organizations are what protect America, along with the Department of Defense. Eroding the workforce or really getting after the morale and really empowerment of the workforce is going to have a direct impact on national security at every level. It will also have, from the FBI standpoint, a real impact on fighting crime on the streets, which is what this administration says they want to do. But FBI agents and leadership, they run those violent crime task forces around the country with state and local partners. They run the transnational organized crime task forces around the world. So really reducing their ability to do all of this is going to have a measurable effect on the crime in the United States and in the region.
I mean, I can't imagine having that level of turnover in an instant at this moment in time, Mark. And the big question is, suppose all these employees say, no thanks, I don't want your buyout. Does the DOJ have the legal authority to then remove these agents, remove these analysts?
Well, that's a good question. Look, the FBI has a lot of civil service protections in the normal world. I've represented FBI personnel for almost 30 years or so, maybe more now, I guess, and all the agencies. And I mean, even at the agencies where the director could actually legally remove someone without any due process, and that does exist at a number of the agencies in statute, in regulations, they don't do it. I've had one case in 30 years, and I've never come across another, because all the agencies have always believed in due process. Now, sure, when Robert Hansen got arrested by the FBI for spying for Soviet Union Russia, he didn't get due process. There's a national security exception to fire employees for something of that nature. But for working on an assigned criminal matter that was prosecuted across the United States for attacking the Capitol, and yet somehow you get fired for that with no due process. I mean, even if you just get fired for that with due process, that's just not the system we are used to, nor should we tolerate.
Well, Mark, I mean, you went from hearing about one to you may have scores, frankly, of members of these organizations who are looking for representation. You represent a number of the FBI agents already. What are they telling you about how they are feeling about the prospect of not only our security, but how vulnerable they are to being let go?
Well, I can say not just from the FBI, since obviously those buyout offers have gone to many agencies. They are demoralized. These are individuals who, for example, the lawsuit we filed today against the FBI, I think the shortest term was like 8 years of service. A couple were over 20, almost a quarter of a century. At all of the agencies, when they woke up to get an email from OPM that was, if you read it, just insulting, was basically saying, look, we don't really need you any longer. If you want to take the buyout, good riddance. And these are really dedicated public servants who are not partisan. I have no idea how they voted Republican, Democrat. They don't care either. And it is, I don't know how the government's going to function. I mean, I think that's the bottom line in these agencies. And the amount of experience that we are about to use and the extent to which that will harm American national and domestic security, you can't even actually articulate the degree. I mean, forget about whether or not your tax returns are going to be filed or processed properly, or you just name any type of institutional, your Social Security checks. You know how slow things go in the government in a normal time? You can imagine when there's, 10%, 20%, 30% less workforce.
Chris, I mean, just hearing that, it makes my head keeps shaking, looking to think about how this could be viewed internationally, how people would be able to share.
How? I keep saying that all the time. I would love to know how these other countries feel about what's going on with us. We are the movie that they're watching right now. We are. And all of us are starring roles in it. And they're sitting there looking like trying to figure out, like, what are they doing? And then again, our enemies, oh my gosh. So like I said, you're torn because on the other side, which they're not going to talk about right now, people not going to speak about that side, the corruptness that have gone on with the CIA for years. Oh, the stories. But that won't get talked about right now because people are losing their jobs. Rightfully so. You know what I mean? Not rightfully so they're losing their jobs. Rightfully so that they're not talking about that right now.
Information with us, the trust in the absence, frankly, a dearth at that point of institutional knowledge and cases that are ongoing that have nothing to do with January 6th whatsoever. You got the acting FBI director, Chris, Brian Driscoll. He has become something of a kind of hero for the FBI's rank and file. And in fact, he initially refused to give the names of the agents to the DOJ. And then he released this video today. Watch.
We will never take our eyes off of our mission, protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution. Because at the Bureau, we're focused on the work. And people we do the work with, our partners, and the people we do the work for, the American people.
You actually worked with him. How do you think he's handling what, frankly, is an unfathomable position?
So Brian is the best of us in the FBI. He's a humble professional who made an incredible reputation based on his work and his courage and his bravery and his humility. And that's all being demonstrated in front of all of us right now, along with Rob Kassane, the acting deputy director. They both have incredible operational experience. Nobody's ever heard of them before. They have not really spent much time in headquarters because they have been in the field protecting this country. Brian is doing what he would have done on any Friday when he stood up last Friday. He's being a leader. He is, carrying out justice with integrity and strength and courage, and that's what we should expect in our leaders. And he is focused on two things: the mission of the FBI and the welfare of his people, and that's what you should have in a leader, and that's what he is really demonstrating to the entire country. And he has a huge following in the FBI workforce who feel really persecuted right now, and the country will suffer unless we change this dynamic.
Mark Zaid, Christopher O'Leary, thank you both.
So who's going to want that job? Really, who's going to want that job? Knowing that if Democrats win and there's a new a Democratic president in office, that he could then remove everybody that Trump is put. Like, what would entice you to want to take that position now? So to me, it's like, who are you going to get to work it? Especially when they know in probably about 4 years, possibly, their jobs could be in jeopardy again. I wouldn't want that.
Okay, cool. $1 right there. I'm gonna get this though. Ooh. What? I just did not now. Right now, have you heard of how much is it again?
2632.
2632. Have you heard of DEI?
Not that I know of.
You haven't? Okay. Part of the reason why I'm not going to purchase this because of how she treated me and your staff since I've been here. And so I'm just going to leave. Let her help you take it all back. I'm done. So yeah, I didn't buy anything here at Target. And see, that's what we got to get our activists to know, that we can do boycott, but you got to add inconvenience to it. Everybody in the country need to go to a local Target, shop, get all the things that you think that you would like, put it in the cart, go to the cash register and say, you know what? You all don't support DEI. This is my last, and they can call the police. I thought they had been out here waiting on me, but I ain't coming back no way. Peace.
I get what you're doing, but as a person who worked at Walmart and used to have to go to the front to customer service and get those buggies and return it and put them back, that's foul. You hurting the worker. You would have been hurting me if I would have been in there. So I get that, what you're doing and the message you're trying to send and all of that right there, but or maybe help me see it a different way, because that right there would have made me mad, bro. Me working there. And if you ain't never worked at one of those department stores where they call you up front towards the end of the night or at some point in time of the night, and you have to get the returns for your department. I don't know how they do it now, but I used to work in the shoe department and other departments at Walmart. And you have to come up there and get all those returns and then go back there individually, put them up and do everything you needed to do, plus your work. So it's like, that stuff can get aggravating, but, and it's a pastor doing this? Interesting.
Let me give you some facts about what's actually going on in this country, in this world right now. So I keep hearing it's going to take time. The price of eggs is going to go down, but it's going to take time. The price of your milk is going to go down, but don't worry, it's going to take time. We're going to make the middle class and the poor people, we're going to put some money in their pockets. And I really, really, really hope and want to believe that as a single mom, because I can't work another job physically, because I've already worked 3 jobs my entire time bringing up my children, and they're up from me not being in the home. So I can't do it. I'm trying to save the smallest amount of mental health normalcy for my children that I possibly can. But let me just understand this, what's going on. There are 16 million vacant homes in United States of America. 16 million vacant homes in United States of America. Some of them are probably furnished from the last administration. There are 580,000 homeless families, single, with children, whatever. 580,000. Even if we put those families in those homes, there would still be plenty vacant homes left. somebody please give me an understanding of what's going on. We have people that can afford 2 and 3 properties that are standing empty right now, that they have to pay for property taxes, you know, all of that, rent, whatever. And you would not rather move in a family because their credit is not good enough, but you would rather move in a family that you can gouge 3 to 4 times the amount of rent. So I really do hope, Elon Musk, that you, being in charge of our treasury and money, whatever the situation is with you right now, really help us regular average Americans understand what the
Donald Trump and Elon Musk have decided that not only does the FBI need to be gutted and workforce eliminated, the CIA also is in the process of being gutted and workforce eliminated. At the current time, the FBI has filed a class action lawsuit against the Trump administration. Only time will tell as to whether or not that lawsuit will be impactful. Sources expect the CIA to do the same exact thing. We need to stay tuned to see how this all plays out. One question that has come up is, if the federal courts do impose injunctions and try to put a stop to this government takeover by the Trump administration by virtue of the separations of power clause, can it be enforced? What if they resist? What if they refuse to follow court order? Let's see what happens.
Then they'll probably get the military or something like that. Like this has the potential to get very ugly and nasty, man. And nobody wants that, bro. Nobody wants that because, again, outsiders are just chomping at the bit to get at us right now because they see us as weak and vulnerable. So they need to get themselves together quickly.
Hey, this is a disaster waiting to happen. So Trump wants the CIA, most of them, just to lay down and just give up their jobs and let his people come in there and take over. What is an ex-CIA agent gonna do? Go be a local sheriff? What, work at the postal office? No, those guys can't really do anything else. They're at the top of the top. And you gonna try to take their jobs? He wants the same thing for the FBI. See, y'all hadn't seen a fight yet. But them people right there, they ain't gonna lay down. They got another thing coming. Talking about, yeah, he better watch out with them. The only thing I'll say, and I'll watch my language with this, but do people really know what the CIA do? Them people are like spies, James Bond type stuff. The FBI and all that kind of stuff. I would not be playing around with those people. And you want 4,000 or 5,000 people just to quit, to let your people that are more aligned with your agenda to get in there? Nah, man. You got to fight on your hands. And I'm going to stand by for this one because this is going to be interesting. Because I don't think none of them are going to be like, yeah, okay, we'll leave. Come on, man. Be for real. But y'all stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. Peace.
A lot of the news this morning that Elon and Trump are trying to buy out the entire CIA. I thought you guys might want to hear from a friend of mine. She works in public lands, and she got the emails from Elon's team, DOGE, and it was hilarious. So just take a listen if you want a little insight into how this is all going down with all the government workers.
So, you guys, it is like almost comical how silly all of this request to resign stuff is going. I think just today alone, I received 3 emails. And do you remember when you first started using email and it's like you write your friend and then you're like, oh, but hey, I forgot to mention this. And then you write another email that's like, oh, and by the way, this too. So then you have 3 emails when you could have just sent one. That's what's going on. Like, it's like every 3 hours I get a different email saying, this is a true offer. You can trust this. And then the next email is like, you can trust this, and here is a document that you can sign to show the agreement. But it's just like a Word document that anyone could have made. And then every email is like coming from some sort of the same office, but different person, sort of, but always the vocabulary is just a little off, to where I'm just like, the whole thing feels like they got a bunch of 19-year-olds straight out of high school that really are devoted to Elon, just doing whatever he says, and then he writes it and then puts their name on it. That's how it feels. It just feels so unreal. It feels very unreal.
In light of the news this morning that
And that doesn't make me feel good about anything right there. That doesn't make you feel safe. It doesn't make you feel good about who could be their replacements with everything. None of this feels good. Especially not hearing how the emails are written. You would expect a more thorough, professional, detailed email to come through to you.
Breaking news of even more horrible types. Donald Trump has issued a buyout option for every single employee within the CIA, within the Central Intelligence Agency. What? Now, I'm not a stan or a supporter of the CIA or anything like that, right? None whatsoever. But this is an incredibly destabilizing thing that's occurring, because not only do all these agents who are, working as a part of the Central Intelligence Agency, not just here, but mostly abroad, right? In other countries and embassies and things like that, right? Not only are they uncertain about the status of, their own lives, their support system, their infrastructure abroad, but there are numerous countries who know that the CIA are there, right? Numerous governments who know that the CIA are there, that are a part of, some kind of stabilizing entity in however geopolitical forces and operations occur, right? If they pick up and leave, that puts a lot of uncertainty for all these different governments, all these different countries, and puts a lot of innocent people in harm's way instantly. And the second thing that is completely destabilizing this entire prospect is now enemies of the United States, adversaries of the United States, whether it's Russia, whether it's China, whoever, right? Now they're seeing this and going, oh, this is going to sow a lot of chaos and a lot of discord among the American intelligence departments. Let's make it worse. Let's make it worse for them. And yet CNN is giving airtime to Republican shills and talking Muppets like this guy who's saying like, oh, well, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad. None of this is bad. We really do need to shave the budget of all these different things. It's not bad. Even if it's only 1% of the CIA that does, it's not a bad thing. Donald Trump could literally wipe his with the physical Constitution, and Republicans and even now some Democrats would be like, that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing that he did that.
I'm that type of person that's going to have your back all day long. But when it comes time to hold your feet to the fire, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. And the time has come. So gather around, listen up. Let me learn you something. Birthright citizenship. It had to be started because of Black people. Birthright citizenship is tied to slavery. Before the Civil War, Black people, enslaved or free, weren't considered people. They weren't considered citizens. This is Dred Scott. Dred Scott fought for our right to exist as people in this country. Dred Scott and his wife Harriet sued for their freedom. He was a slave, bought and sold like a piece of property. In 1857, the Supreme Court made sure we knew where we stood, saying that no Black person, free or enslaved, could ever be a U.S. citizen. But after the Civil War, Congress passed the 14th Amendment in 1868 to explicitly overturn Dred Scott and make sure that anybody that's born on U.S. soil is automatically a U.S. citizen. This was about making sure that formerly enslaved Black Americans could never have their citizenship stripped from them again. And yet here we are, watching people try to undo all of that work. We know they put a block on it. How long is that going to last? They say it's about immigration. Let's be real, if they can strip it from one group, who's next? Birthright citizenship is a correction. a promise that no one born here could be denied their place. And if we let them rewrite that, we're erasing the very foundation of freedom in this country.
Birthright citizenship, as we know it now, ceases to exist by the end of February. I want to say it's like February 20th when Donald Trump's executive order goes into play. And I don't think the Supreme Court is going to stay this. I think what's going to happen is it's going to be at the Supreme Court. And I think the Supreme Court's going to rule in favor of Donald Trump. Not only are they going to rule in favor of Donald Trump and say that if you're here illegally, you're not under the jurisdiction of the United States, and therefore you are not a citizen if you're born here. I think not only is he going to say that, but he's also going to say, even if you're here legally on a visa or whatever, you're still under the jurisdiction of your country. And so you also don't qualify for citizenship. So the first part is just an interpretation of the 14th Amendment, right? It says that nobody has ever ruled on someone being here illegal and having kids here while they were here illegally and under the jurisdiction, therefore, of their own country. No one has ruled on that yet. So that will just be a ruling. But the other part where they say, no, even if you're here on a visa, then you don't get birthright citizenship either. That means that they have to overturn the Wong Kim Ark, which they're going to do. And then the question becomes, will people in the Navajo Nation, since the Navajo Nation isn't considered a state, but it's just considered like a separate area, if you will they consider them just like the Puerto Ricans, even though they're on our soil, and say that they can't vote? And thus, the Puerto Ricans can't vote either, even if they're on the mainland, because they would be under the jurisdiction of Puerto Rico and the Navajo nations, or just the nations, the Native American nations. I'm from Arizona. Anyway, this is what I think is going to happen. I think this is the reality. Donald has the Supreme Court votes for it. And from the ideology that I can see with the makeup of the court, that's what's going to happen. Birthright.
Listen, I constantly think about the kids, bro. Number one, they didn't ask to be here. And then they didn't do anything wrong. So my question is their parents came here illegally, had kids. What about the kids? That's who we always seem to care about, correct? Like making sure that the kids don't feel the brunt of whomever's irresponsibility or position they put them in for whatever situation. What about the kids is my question.
So it's your friendly neighborhood civics teacher here. I am here with another video. This is Stanford. Now, we were just talking about this big controversy that we have going on regarding birthright citizenship. Now, I was talking to this group right here, and let me see, they're going to answer with a yes or no. Is birthright citizenship in the Constitution? Yeah. Okay, can you guys please tell me what amendment to the Constitution gives birthright citizenship its credibility? The 14th. Okay, the 14th Amendment. Now, these are 14-year-olds. Anybody in here still 13? Oh, okay, we have some 13-year-olds in here too. 13 and 14-year-olds, and they know that birthright citizenship is a right of all persons born in the United States, according to the what? The Constitution. And where in the Constitution? The 14th Amendment. Shall we read it? Yeah. Okay, let's read the Constitution of the United States. Okay, let's read what it says. Let's read what it says. Okay, now, let's go ahead and do it. All right, so the 14th Amendment to the United States ratified July 9th, 1868. Okay, even Mr. Knight wasn't born yet. Okay, now, let's get into it. All persons. When it says all persons, does that mean some people? No. Most people? No. Half people? No. Those people? No. All people, according to the Constitution. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States in the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive or any person of life, liberty, and property without the due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Give the Constitution a hand. Yeah, freedom, liberty, yeah. Now, that we understand this whole 14th Amendment, this was initially given to the freed slaves in the South because of the black codes and all that was going on in the South, and they needed to do something to protect these people. We will make them citizens. We will make them citizens. That will give them equal protection under the law. That was its intention, but it didn't just stop there. It's all people going forward who were born in this country, all right, are now citizens of this country and are afforded those same rights. So let's go ahead and give the Constitution a hand once again. I love you, Constitution. So we know, my 13 and 14-year-olds know this. Someone yesterday said on camera, they said that the birthright citizenship was unconstitutional. That is incorrect. The Constitution is clear what it says. Continue to follow me. I am your friendly neighborhood civics teacher, and see you soon. So it's your friendly neighbor.
Listen, man, where was this type of conversation when I was in school? I didn't get this type of stuff, bro. Shout outs to them, man. At least they're discussing it and having a discussion. And hopefully he's open to the discussion with kids who come in that may feel different, and they can sit down and discuss it. Heck, even invite the parents in and have a discussion back and forth. Like, this is all good for kids and young adults growing up, man, to discuss what's going on and things they will have to face with. Because let's just say one of them get out here in the world and maybe work for an agency, and they need to understand the Constitution and what it states for their job, or they, you know what I mean, have to deal with some of this stuff you will be faced with. So this is pretty good to see and interesting to see that these type of discussions are going on in the schools.